Hello everyone, welcome to a little bite-sized episode of Dev to Dev. This is a small selection of some clips from some of the episodes from Season 2, focused on one of the themes that I feel like was pretty common throughout Season 2, a general theme around family, the impact that families had on inspiration for playing games, careers. So what I'm trying to do here is just capture some moments from the season from a couple of folks to give you an insight into some of the conversations that I've had throughout Season 2. This is just a small selection. Obviously, if you've listened to Season 2, you may remember these conversations. If you aren't really sure where to start with the podcast, hopefully this is a good little snapshot of some really great conversations that I really enjoyed having, to give you just a little insight into some of the topics that we cover. I'm going to do a few of these in this interim period between Season 2 ending and Season 3 starting, and I'm going to mix them in with some of the episodes from Season 1, which if you are new to the podcast for Season 2, you may not have heard, because Season 1 is currently on the Patreon. You need a Patreon subscription in order to hear Season 1. So I'm just going to replay a couple of episodes from Season 1 just to put those back in folks' feeds if they're new to the podcast or if they've discovered it during Season 2. These will just be the same episodes that I posted in Season 1, but with a new little intro and maybe a little outro from me just to sort of reflect back on the episode. So keep an ear out for those. In the meantime, this episode is focused on family, like I mentioned. We start with some great discussion from Leyla Lacombe about how family influenced her and continues to influence her throughout her career. We then move on to Brandon Van Haren with some great discussion about how his brother inspired him to play video games and continues to be a part of his life and his family and his kids, how they impact his career. Moving on to Nathan Kellman with some awesome discussion about how his parents and his family inspired him, and also how he's continued to keep his family involved with his career and how his family have stayed involved with his career. I'm wrapping up with some discussion from Shingleton about how his grandfather was a big influence on him and about how his family's continued to be an important part of it. So hopefully this gives you just a little sample of some of the episodes. Hopefully you enjoy this little recall of some of the moments. I think there's some great discussion in here and some great insight. So please enjoy. Look out for another one of these in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, thank you for listening. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your subscription. Please leave comments and reviews when you can. But in the meantime, let's sit back and listen in to a little snippet of some moments from Dev to Dev Season 2.
My professional inspiration in video games actually came very late. But what inspired me to kind of think about video games as a whole is a lot of the time it was just connecting with my father. He was, one of the original gamers. He's always been so far ahead of the curve in technology. He's an early adopter to everything. I think we could have an Apple History Museum hosted at our house because my dad has the original Macintosh. He has every iPod that's ever been. So I can't even quite remember my first memory of video games, but I seem to have these maybe retold to me memories of my dad watching me and playing a driving simulator on his computer with me in his arms. And so pretty early on, the first video game I really remember playing with him is actually SSX Tricky on the PS2, I think. And that just kind of started this realm of a whole other side of entertainment and fun and joy that can come. We then, 4 years later, my parents had a little boy, so I had a little brother, and obviously we roped him into the family. Gaming, one of my favorite memories is New Year's Eve 2004, maybe. My dad and I finally beat The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. We stayed up all night, and that morning at 1 a.m. on New Year's Day, we beat the final boss, and it was amazing. So really, the inspiration of gaming, I feel was kind of handed down to me generationally almost. I didn't do a whole lot of introducing people who weren't familiar with games to the world of gaming, but I feel pretty lucky that I had a lot of friends who were actually into video games. I didn't face a lot of the stigma growing up that I know a lot of women face in the industry and just in the hobby in general. But I'm a big fan of a couch co-op. I love a party game. Inviting my friends over to play Mario Kart or Mario Party was always such an easy win. I'm remembering a memory I have not accessed in so long. Wow. I used to live close enough to school, and we had the ability to have essentially home lunch. If your parents came and signed you out, signed you back in. And so my mom and a couple of the other moms at the school essentially started a rotating lunch. So each mom would host a group of 3 or 4 kids. And when everyone came to my house, we would go downstairs to the basement and we would play Mario Kart. And so all the other people were like, oh, I can't wait to go back to Layla's house, and that was the only time I felt so popular at school, was because my mom was okay with us playing one game of Mario Kart over lunch. My brother and my dad have really kept in touch through video games. It Takes Two was the video game to play with your significant other who had never played video games. But for my dad and my brother, that was how they stayed in touch while my brother was away at college, and they would play online together. It's funny because my dad introduced all of us to video games, but also video games have evolved so quickly, and he's had less and less time to play that now what used to be my dad teaching my brother is now my brother politely being like, no, you have to double jump, Dad. So you have to wait for the first jump to be at its peak to double jump, because otherwise you're not going to go far enough. And my dad being like, I used to just push a keyboard button and everything worked. I used to type out my video games or choose your own adventure format. And we're like, okay, well, now you have to double jump across the ledge. So I think in that sense, video gaming has really remained in our lives. And my dad has a huge interest in technology, like I mentioned, and video games has also helped push him past that. Like my dad built my first PC for me and taught me how to do all the parts assembly. And now I come home to visit my parents, and my dad has built himself a 3D racing simulation chamber. And he literally had to buy this really in-depth seatbelt because the rig moves so much that he was worried he was going to get thrown off. And this is how my dad's hobby has evolved, and he plays racing sims with the Formula One people. And I got him, since I'm at Sony now, there was a Gran Turismo release, and so I was able to get him a code for that. And he was like, I'm so in on the simulation now, I'm not sure how it'll feel. And he literally just texted me yesterday, and he was like, this is one of the best Christmas presents I've ever had, because yes, the simulation is cool and so on, but this has reminded me of the gameplay aspect of video games as well.
I mean, when I was growing up as a young boy, playing Nintendo Entertainment System with my older brother, playing games like Contra and Legend of Zelda, of course, Mario Brothers. Me and my older brother, we'd always play a game called Life Force, which is like I think it was like the second game to Gradius. It had the old Konami code, just like Contra did. We'd spend hours at that thing whenever we could, playing together. At first, he would do the old trick where you unplug the second controller on your little brother, make him think that he's playing with you. You just grew up playing Nintendo games, and then we got a Super Nintendo, and I've always just loved him, everything about him. He was probably a big influence. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to understand the games as well as I did, or get as far in them. Without his skill level, being a couple years older than me, he was obviously a lot better. We'd beat the games together, and that was really satisfying. He's not really into them anymore. He went a different path. He helped kick off my love for games for sure. When I was a kid, there were arcades all over the place. Especially, there was a really big one down where I grew up called the Rio at the time. It was the whole upper level of this almost shopping mall was just a massive arcade, so you could spend hours in there. And then my father was a policeman at the time, so he'd work kind of a side job working security for the arcade. So we'd go there all the time and just get free tokens to play video games for hours on end. It was pretty amazing. So that probably helped inspire and keep my love for video games going when I was able to just pump the almost predatory arcade games for free for hours on end. It was awesome. I just loved, you think it was like Super Mario World when that came out. It kind of moved to like a top-down three-dimensional map, and I was really like blown away by the concept of that, moving around a map and entering levels. So I'd make those, I'd draw those three-dimensional Mario-esque like levels just on paper and color them and show them to my mom, and she'd tell me how great it was. But I had no idea that what I was actually doing was essentially level designing my own little games. And when I think back on it now, I would actually make level design on paper and have my mom take the pencil and trace her way through the level and kind of role play it for her, almost dungeon master it for her when I was a kid. So it's crazy that when you mention that, it's sparking all sorts of memories in my head, actually. So my parents actually restricted the time we had to play games around that time. So I think a lot of it was I just wanted to play some more, and that was my way of playing when I wasn't allowed to actually play. I'd make it myself, and through that I could continue to play. Both of my older kids are big gamers. My son's about to graduate from Penn State, so he's not a kid, I should say. He's he's a grown man and he loves playing video games. My daughter's actually going to school. She's going to go to Penn State and go to computer science because she has a big interest in what I do. And she's more narrative driven. She's going down the storytelling pathway, which is great for her. I'm kind of guiding her through that process and helping her understand what it might be like to have to break into the industry, how you need to be prepared and what you need to do. My youngest is only 4, so not quite there yet, but he likes to sit next to me and watch me. Got to be careful what I put on, of course.
You mentioned the brother that kind of inspired you still plays, but maybe not as much. Do you ever swap stories about what it's like to make games with them?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really show much interest in the design side of things, but we used to play a lot of multiplayer competitive games together, so we kind of giggle and laugh at old memories playing things like Gears of War or the old Crysis 2. The heydays before design career was when we really used to play together. So it's fun to reminisce about times we spent gaming, not only as adults, but as when we were kids as well.
Lived in California for most of my life, and when it comes to video games, the first video game console I remember having is Nintendo 64 with Pokemon Snap, and my parents were always really supportive of us for games. We, at one point, when I was older in high school, we had 4 or 5 game consoles. I had an Xbox, a PlayStation, Nintendo. I would play Call of Duty, Sly Cooper. I think really at one point we probably had hundreds of games. I think my parents would buy us to probably 50 to 60 games every year because we were like, hey, this is our Christmas list, and they were like, sure. So they would buy us all of our games. But yeah, games have always kind of been a part of my life for a super long time. My brother and I would play games together all the time. We would play Call of Duty together. We'll play like fighting games together. We would sometimes play RPG, switch back and forth. Or I watched him play Skyrim. He watched me play other types of games. Oh yeah, so we used to play games a lot together growing up.
And I guess for both Texas and Michigan, you've moved away from home at that point as well to follow your dream. How was that? Was your family supportive of it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was scary. I think moving to Texas was the first time I'd been away from home, but my family was really supportive. Whenever I needed help with stuff, they were always down to figure out how to help me. When I told them I wanted to be a game designer, my mom was really supportive, so was my dad. They were never those parents where if you told them, like, I want to do this thing, they were never the type to sway you away from it. It was like, well, if you're going to do it, then be the best person that you can be. So even when I recently, a couple years ago, because I had a chance to work on Diablo IV, and when I had a chance to show the credits to my parents, they were both elated and excited because your dream came true. You worked on the title. So yeah, they were always really supportive, even when I moved off to Texas and Michigan.
Yeah, like you mentioned, showing your name in the credits to your parents. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was crazy. The first person I told was my brother. I told my brother, hey, my game's coming out today. And he was like, oh, what game was it? And I told him Diablo IV. And he looked at me with like this shocked look on his face. He was like, you worked on what? I'm like, I worked on Diablo IV. He was like, oh my God, that's insane. So my brother, he also does game development a little bit himself. He does writing on his own free time, and he also does a bit of programming. My parents have asked me before, so what is it they can do? I try to tell them I'm like a digital architect, so I try to put it in terms and ways where like they can understand. But of course, there are some times where my mom will be like, so what do you do again? I'm like, I'm a level designer, mom. This is what I do. So, oh, okay, I remember now. But yeah, you pay attention to what happens in the industry. They'll ask me questions about like, hey, I saw this thing happen within games, or even the whole AI thing. They ask me like, how is AI going to affect you and what you do? So they definitely try to pay attention the best they can.
However, I think the funniest one that I could probably pick out to you is actually my grandfather. So weirdly, for a man that at the time would have been probably pushing like 45, 50 odd, he really wanted to get into like whatever it was that I was into at the time. He was probably like just such a big father figure for me, and he always tried to like relate or just get interested in the things that I was interested in. So I have very fond memories of us playing the PlayStation together, growing up, and him bringing me home a 360 for the first time and playing Call of Duty, and him getting really, really frustrated because he couldn't control the character properly, but he still enjoyed just the time we spent together, which was great. Yeah, like definitely cousins were a big one. I have such a weirdly core memory of actually looking at the Minecraft website from the early 2010s. I can still see it in the back of my brain because I remember sitting on my cousin's really old crappy Dell that was still running like Windows XP, and just sitting there, and he was like, oh, I'm going to show you this really cool game that I'm thinking of picking up. And he showed me the website, and then there was the browser version of Minecraft at the time. And I remember hopping on that and being like, I want this right now. And then I think maybe like 6 months later, I think I finally convinced my parents to pick it up. But yeah, like cousins were definitely a big thing. Don't get me wrong, it's hard being away from family, especially somewhere like back home in Ireland that is so tight-knit and very family orientated. My wife is so tight with her family, and every time we go home it is just another special moment that, you know, being over here has gave us a newfound appreciation for back home as well. It's just that really cliche thing of you didn't really know what you had until you've lost it, you know.
Okay, that's it for this little summary of some of the episodes of Season 2, focused on the theme of family. Hope you enjoyed that insight as much as I did. Please check out more of these throughout the next few weeks. Hope you enjoy them. Got some more interesting themes to focus on and to extract from Season 2. Thank you all for listening. The links here show you all the places where you can connect with the podcast. Please like and share it where you can. Please leave reviews where you can. That does genuinely really help with discoverability, which, if you listen to my wrap-up episode from last week, really is my biggest challenge, and I would appreciate any help I can get there. But thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and catch you next time.